This show has covered extensively how, as of now, the only threat to President Trump breezing through the 2024 Republican primary is one Florida governor who has been in the news a lot lately. And not only does he have surging poll numbers, but also a war chest at his disposal. Now, in a new poll out of that state of Florida, which has always been a high-stakes prize in presidential politics, Ron DeSantis now has a lead over former President Donald Trump. The poll, which asked GOP voters there which candidate they'd prefer, DeSantis now leads Trump 48-40. This is a reversal from January when Trump led DeSantis by 7 points. The poll also showed that DeSantis had a more comfortable lead than Trump in a hypothetical matchup with President Biden in the state. DeSantis had a 52-44 edge over Biden in Florida, while Trump led 47-44. Now, politically, DeSantis continues to trend in the right direction. Now, some Trump supporters might point to a new national poll, also out today, which has Trump up 52-19 over DeSantis. But nobody else in that national poll had support above 8%. DeSantis' numbers may seem like a big deficit, but he hasn't even started campaigning, at least not officially, and doesn't yet have anything like the national recognition of Trump. What he does have is a major war chest for his re-election bid for governor. He's raised more than $177 million, and yes, he can use that money he raised running for governor on a presidential bid. He also has a major ally, Fox News, whose hosts literally drool at the sight of him.
Thankfully, down in Florida, Ron DeSantis has gotten it right from the start. He didn't surrender to the mistakes of the so-called experts. He protected the elderly. You should be my governor.
Governor, they loved the culture wars when they were kicking God out of the classroom, but suddenly they're upset because I guess you didn't want political indoctrination in something as simple as a math textbook.
The more Florida acts like a country right now, I think the better for all of us, my personal view.
Joining me now is Republican strategist Rob Stutzman, who previously served as the Deputy Chief of Staff to Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Thanks very much for coming on the show. Appreciate it. All right, so look, people are going to look at these two polls, right, and they're going to see, all right, he's up in Florida, but he's still way down nationally, but you still think this is a big deal?
Well, I think it's a big deal, Dan, because if DeSantis is going to make the move to succeed Trump, even actually defeat Trump, should they score off in this primary, it's going to happen gradually. But the first place that it has to happen is in Florida, his home state, where they know him best. And so the fact that he has now gone ahead of Trump in Florida, really a year before any real campaign would begin, I think is significant.
And, of course, Trump is living in Florida as well. But do you think, in the end, and this is something I don't think people have discussed enough, that DeSantis is going to be afraid of taking on Trump? I mean, you know, as they say, if you, what is it? If you're going to shoot the king, you better kill him. And if DeSantis takes on Trump, that means he's going to be going after Trump. And that could get ugly. Does DeSantis, you think, is he really going to do that?
I think he may. I think he is keeping his options open. He's building towards the potential to do that. Again, he really has about a year to decide whether to do that or not. And so we're talking about a political dynamic that's going to continue to evolve over the next year, whether it be Trump and more of his troubles or DeSantis continuing, frankly, to really succeed at these political stunts, this showmanship that before now had been the domain of Trump, that really catapult him into the, you know, the create fanboys out of these Republican primary voters. The stunt that you've been talking about on your show tonight with shipping immigrants out of state, what he's been doing to fight woke corporations. All these things are fanning the flames of a Republican base while Trump goes out, does rallies, talks about himself and whether he won the election 2 years ago.
Any chance that Trump puts his support behind DeSantis in the Florida governor's race? You're laughing. It's that funny? It's that absurd? It's that much of a long shot?
Trump is never going to support anybody else except maybe someone named Trump for the presidency.
No, I mean I don't mean for the presidency. I mean for the governor's race. I mean in his race against Charlie Crist.
I'm sorry. No, my guess is look. I think Trump is more furious tonight about Ron DeSantis than Letitia James, right? So, no, we're getting to the interesting inflection point, but I think that DeSantis being on the ballot here in, what, 6-7 weeks is going to be an opportunity for Trump to start to throw some shade And I would anticipate that that's likely to happen.
You think he's more furious because he's angry about the human rights of these migrants being violated, as my previous guest was trying to argue? No, look, he's angry. He's angry because he feels like DeSantis stole his thunder on this, right?
But what DeSantis, correct. DeSantis is better at being Trump than Trump's at being Trump right now. But DeSantis has always dodged the 2020 election question.
Yeah.
He's never really said what Trump wants him to say. And I think that may be what Trump tries to pin him down on in the context of his gubernatorial reelect here over the next several weeks.
All right. Rob Stutzman, thank you very much for coming on the program. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.